Wait.
So I had to unfollow Young Turks because they were literally defending a porn star dogging out the military, saying that she'd rather sell her body than join the military, and the military is basically selling your body to the government, whereas at least you're selling your body on your own accord when you're being paid to have sex. This is the same chick who was online crying about her little simp husband divorcing her because he couldn't deal with the fact that she was a porn star. Which, like I said, he's a simp because he already knew that she was, but he decided he couldn't really take it anymore. That she's had uh, more schlongs in her than a butcher.
I mean,
so and like, and then like, on top of that, like, she got away from porn, but she was still using her porn name in the stuff that she was doing. Like when she wasn't she at ESPN at one point, and a lot of people didn't take her seriously there.
she was trying to be a law. She tried different jobs.
Yeah, she mentioned that too. But it's like, but why are you still using your porn name? And if you wanted to get away from that, and then she lied and said like she wasn't really making that much money in porn. She literally made a lot of money doing it.
Yeah,
and
the studio came out and said,
yeah,
you got paid well.
Yes, and she still retains rights to some of that stuff because like that stuff still circulates on like Pornhub and X
videos. You still get paid for that.
And now she has an OnlyFans.
So you don't want to stop doing porn.
So it's like so people try to say, well, that's so she was trying to debate with people saying it's not the same as porn. It literally is. If you are having sex,
if you are recording yourself performing sexual acts, it's porn.
Basically,
it's literally the definition of pornography.
And then so she was going on rant saying, I mean, so there was some good points made, like how you get manipulated by recruiters and this and that. And I've even said, yeah, the recruiters are lied to. They're paid. Like our own drill sergeant said, your recruiters are paid to lie to you. Like when we were at Fort Jackson, we were on one of our runs, and the drill sergeant said, "You see that, Pride? You see that building right there?" He said, "That's where your recruiters go. They learn how to lie to you." So we just laughed. I mean, it was true, but some recruiters are cool as shit. The recruiters I dealt with were cool, so they may have. I mean, yeah, they got quotas to fill. And then they were saying that's why no one's really trying to join the military and this and that. I'm like, Young Turks need to shut the fuck up. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. I was like, first of all, enlistment is usually down during peacetime anyway. Plus, enlistment standards are higher nowadays. It might go down if we go into some sort of war or whatever. But standards have been raised in the military. That's why less people join, and there's less people able to join because they don't meet those standards, whether physically or mentally or educational wise. Like our military is much more advanced than 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's not about who can make things go boom anymore. It's like, can you do the technical stuff?
I mean, we came a long way from people avoiding a jail sentence to go into the military.
Yeah, because so even when I talk to a recruiter, and I talk to a few from different branches, to even go in as an enlisted for for cybersecurity, you gotta have a degree. To go in as enlisted to the fucking Air Guard. And he was like, yeah, we don't let people come off the street and go into cyber. Like, you gotta have an education. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to have a master's. He's like, oh, yeah, you're good. Like, you just can't come off the street and get into that field. Like, you have to come in with credentials.
And people don't realize that the standards of the military are higher than they are now. And then with the Army, with the new Army combat fitness test is much harder now. And let's face it, a lot of Gen Z aren't in shape, especially since a lot of physical education isn't required in many public schools anymore. A lot of people are out of shape, so they're gonna not make it just off that alone. So them talking about, well, a lot of people aren't even going into the military anymore because I was like, that's fine. If you don't want to go, that's great. If you tell your children not to go in the military, I understand. But to say no one should go into the military, so who do you think is going to defend the country? For you to be able to spout off on your little stupid online news channel, someone needs to be protecting those rights somewhere down the line. So, And to defend a porn star who makes the worst points ever, like, and I was like, this chick literally is hated by everyone in her
family
and her family, her basically her whole culture, because she was doing porn with a hijab on.
Yeah, and I heard, and everybody was like, "Well, I shouldn't be getting death." They're like, "No, that was way disrespectful."
I don't agree with the death threats, but I completely understand if they want to if they want to just
communicate her.
Like push her out of the community.
Than, if it was a Catholic wearing a nun or a Christian girl or whatever, like your culture is gonna feel bad about it. Now, Christians are weird when it comes to porn. they're really weird when it comes to that. Because on one hand they like it, on the other hand they don't. But the most porn I was watching, like the Bible Belt, is like lesbian porn, but they hate gay people.
It is?
Yes.
Lesbian? I thought it was gay porn.
Gay? Well, that falls under gay porn too.
Oh yeah.
But it's specifically it was specifically lesbian because dudes. But
lesbian porn is boring though.
Huh?
Lesbian porn is boring.
I mean, I'm just putting out the fact that the Bible Belt, the most watched porn,
and lesbian porn is,
and the Bible Belt is gay porn.
I know, I'm just joking. It's just lesbian porn to me is boring. Plus, it's usually the girls who usually now have boyfriends, and boyfriends like, I don't want you to get pork on video anymore. So they start doing lesbian porn. But anyway, so yeah, they were literally defending this chick, and I was like, I'm unfollowing them. I was like, they make the worst points, and they think I just can't. I can't with them anymore. I was like, they don't speak for the average man. Like Chink and all his executive producers are like 7-figure net worth people. You're not speaking for the average man. Plus, you live in California, like in nice places, so we know you're making money because you can't even afford to live in those areas unless you have money.
That's true too.
So it's like you're not speaking for the average man, and like you want the average man to suffer. So I get where conservatives get off on saying these liberal elites, because a lot of them are like sitting there saying, you should suffer for the greater cause. You're not suffering because you are rich.
Yeah. And I can.
What I hate is that I don't have anything against being rich, but I hate how people on the lower scale of being rich don't think they're rich.
Yeah, that shit bothers me. Like, so, I told you I had people that I knew who make, 6 figures or whatever, and they feel like they're poor, and I'm like, you're not. Well, and then they try.
No, I'm not even talking about the people making like 100,000, 120,000. I'll give them some leeway.
No.
Because cost of living is gone. I'm talking about people making like over 200 something thousand a year. Like if you're making about 250,000 a year or so,
you're not poor.
You're not middle class. No. Like you're not middle class. Stop the cap. And this is even long time. Like I'm talking like 10 years ago. Like there's like Washington Post journalists complaining about being middle class and how they gotta work paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, but then you break down where they live. First of all, they live in the Washington Beltway. They send their kids to private school. They have luxury cars. I'm like, stop the cap. You're not middle class just because you're living.
You're on the lower end in the rich neighborhood. Like you're still rich.
Yeah, just because you're living at your means instead of below your means does not mean you are middle class. It just means
you're rich. You live in a rich lifestyle. You're just on the lower end of rich. If you, like I said, if you make 120,000, I'm using that figure. You make 120,000 in this area, you're doing well. And
then that's the other problem. Is like class is relative, like to community. So I understand. So like if you living in the Washington Beltway, making 120,000, you're not that for them. That's like moderate middle, lower to a moderate middle class in the Washington Beltway. But if you're looking at it nationally, no,
and that's the problem. And for me, that's why I have an issue with like when people say, "Well, I make 100, but I'm poor." I'm not, or I can't afford to do this. Like, shut up. Like, do you realize most people will never see that amount of money in their lifetime? Like, literally, there are people who are living literally paycheck to paycheck, and you're complaining about what because you can't afford this particular Mercedes. It's like, get over yourself. And you don't have to live, like you said, you don't have to live in Fairfax County. You don't have to live in Columbia, Maryland. You don't have to live in the upper part of Silver Spring. Well, Silver Spring it can go either way, but you don't have to live in the heart of DC. Like you can live in a decent area, without having to live in one of the wealthiest places in the country. You choose to live in the wealthiest places in the country.
Like people who choose to live in New York City, known as one of the most. You live in New York City or San Francisco, the two most expensive cities
you choose
in the
to
country.
live there. And I said you choose to live there.
Like you're paying for the luxury of living in those cities.
Exactly. And if you can't afford it, oh well. So while we're talking on this topic.
But wait, and then another thing. So Ching tried to defend her, saying, "Well, it sounds like she knows what she's doing. She makes 10. He said, I did the math. She makes 10,000 a day or something like that." And I'm like, so, and so my comment was kind of lengthy under the video. I was like, so one of the things I said in the comment, I said y'all a bunch of hypocrites. I said none of you executive producers or Chink would tell your daughters to go do porn because you can make like 10,000 a day through this lifestyle. I was like, you're not going to tell your daughter that. You'll tell other people's kids that, hey, porn isn't bad because look how much money people like Mia Khalifa and Janet Jameson and all these other people make, even though most of them say they regret doing porn. So, but then she's gonna go around and say, well, it was better than joining the military, was it? I mean, yeah, you make more money, but I know people coming out of the military that make a lot of money because they become contractors.
Well, government employees. But the thing is, the thing is with the military, people don't understand when it comes to, I'm gonna call it gig work because OnlyFans and stuff it's gig work. There's a cap on that. It's only gonna last you up for so long.
And she's only making it because she was a literal like porn star.
And she only got famous because she wore the hijab when she did her scenes. That's what made the notoriety. Gave her the notoriety. That's what gave her fame. But in the words of the late great Kevin Samuels, there's always going to be another girl turning 18 years old every day. There's always going to be another 18-year-old. There's always going to be a nice, pretty young woman. They're made every day.
Literally.
So there is a cap. I'm just saying, it's an age. There is a time limit on, your looks. How long you can capitalize on your looks.
Yeah, it's like she made it, but how is that? But how is that the pathway for every pretty girl who wants to follow that lifestyle? They're not all going to be a Mia Khalifa.
They're definitely not. And the only reason, honestly, I would say Mia Khalifa made such headways was because she was Lebanese. Like if she was white or black or just your average American, the average American, she wouldn't have made that kind of she wouldn't have got the fame she got.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the fact, she's Lebanese and all this other stuff that played a part in it, so they can market her that way. But outside of that, no. And I think that's what. And I do despise liberals. I'm not gonna lie. I stopped watching Young Turks only because they kept beating a dead horse when it came to Trump. And it got annoying. Like, how many times you gonna? We get it. He's stupid. Report on something else.
That's what CNN and MSNBC does. Like, they literally that's all they talk about. I can't watch it. Like,
and I'm glad I stopped watching because after the whole thing with Cam Newton and him stating, "Hey, these are my," and I gotta emphasize this. He said these were my dating preferences.
Right.
And then all the white
liberals. And then on top of that, they were trying to crucify him, and people forgot that he was asked this. He didn't just come out and start speaking about this. People when he was on that podcast were asking him his views on that. That's why he talked about it. He didn't just decide to go on a rant. He didn't step up on some soapbox and say this is why I don't date this and that. No, they literally asked him on a podcast about it, and it was a part of the show.
Right. I was talking to a friend of mine about it. She was like, well, he shouldn't tell them, but they asked him. He didn't volunteer this information. They asked him because that's what the part of the show was. And, they mentioned, well, he should have framed it different. Like, no, he shouldn't have. He didn't say anything rude. He said, I want a traditional type of woman. That's basically what he said. I mean, paraphrasing, but he didn't say anything rude, like, shut up, bitch, make me a sandwich, man. Like, he just said, hey, I want a traditional woman. I don't want, somebody who's into the boss chick thing and all that. And the nerve of white liberals.
And the Casparian. I'm going to put her name out there.
It wasn't just her, but she's one of them. It was another guy. I think he was on.
She's just insufferable to me. Like, that's why I stopped watching it, because today was just the last straw, because I realized that when I'm watching it, I'm just hate watching. Like, once I realize I'm just hate watching something, it's no point in watching anymore. The Lapeef Network is, I can't take that show. Like, it's so stupid. Like, you got one guy who claims he's rich, but he, like, I don't know. And then he's supposed to be the alpha male, but he's always attacking girls on the show. Like, I'm not gonna put his name out there, but
I know what you're talking about.
But the Lapeef Network, I realized I was hate watching. Like, most of the women on the panel were fucking insufferable. Like, I just couldn't deal with it. So I was like, I need to stop watching, because if I'm watching something and I'm just like hating the talking points and the people saying it's no point in watching it. Like,
that's true.
I should be watching stuff that I enjoy,
exactly,
not hate watching shit. Like, that's why, same thing with Bill Maher. I couldn't take his dumb shit anymore. He's like a boomer that thinks he's a liberal but uses conservative talking points.
Sounds like he's a very confused individual.
Well, I mean, and the thing was, he used to be a conservative when he first started out on TV. Then through some journey, he became liberal.
He smoked weed for the first time and all.
No, he does smoke weed.
No, I'm saying he smoked weed.
He smokes weed with Kid from Kid and Play.
I know. I'm saying he smoked weed for the first time and then.
No, he said he even sold weed in college. So I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, I was like,
white.
I don't say white privilege, because
pretty much, because
that's another reason why. Well, I'm on a rant here, but fuck it. But yeah, that's why Obama pisses me off. When I read his autobiography, this dude used to smoke weed and he even did blow a few times. And you would think he might have more sympathy for black people whose lives have been destroyed because of drugs, since he could have been just another black dude another black dude with
who got caught with drugs,
who can no longer have a career, but he just never got caught doing it. So,
But to go back to your I understand why our conservatives don't like the rules. I don't like some of them either. They do have this elite, like, it's this weird thing, like, you want to be down for the cause, but you don't want to put in the work. Like, you want to be down for the cause, but only from a distance. Only to the point where,
or they want everyone else to be down for the cause, even though it comes at a greater cost to them.
Exactly.
Like suffering through like higher gas prices or stuff like that. You need to switch to an electronic vehicle. Stuff like not everyone can afford a Tesla.
That's true.
And higher gas prices, yeah, you can pay for it because you have like a 6-figure, 7-figure income, whereas other people are living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford it and aren't as enthused about supporting the Ukrainians against Russia, when it's really just a civil war anyway. But that's a whole different story. But like that, things like that are driving up prices, not just with gases but with food and stuff like that, because it's all connected. I'm like, but I hear them tell it like, we need to all be in this together. Like, no, bitch, shut up, you aren't suffering. Like, the women are hot, but yeah, no.
But it's just wild. And like, back to the point about the Cam Newton thing, I just, because
let me make this a separate video, guys. We'll be back.